Hey folks, Roland Martin here and welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, the chatterbait is one of the most famous lures, particularly right now in the wintertime. I'm here in Central Florida, but the chatterbait's a good cold weather bait for the whole year. In fact, it's kind of like a spinnerbait. It's good all year round, but I like the cool weather for the bigger fish. Now, there's a lot of ways of fishing the chatterbait, and there's a lot of different sizes, colors. There's a lot of different rod and line combinations, and I'm going to go over what I consider my favorite, and also I'm going to consider what Brett Hite and some of the other top-notch chatterbait fishermen recommend. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the basic rod and reel for throwing a chatterbait. Now, this is what Brett Hite likes. He's the one that designed the Jackhammer series. That's the high-end, really best of all the chatterbait series. Okay, Brett Hite has just won a lot of big tournaments and bass competition. He's actually from California, but he's actually won tournaments at Seminole and all over the place in the South and Lake Okeechobee as well. So he's really up on how to fish the chatterbait the right way. And what he recommends in a rod is about a 7 to 7.25 foot medium action rod, not a heavy rod. He does not want a big, heavy, stiff rod. And this happens to be a 7-foot medium action rod. And so it's my favorite. And it's kind of light tip. If you notice it, the tip really it's just a pretty light rod. You don't want a real heavy, heavy rod. Okay. The second thing is I have an 8-to-1 ratio reel. Any good casting reel would work, but I like the Solace series. My favorite is set upright. And here's the important thing, the line. Brett Hite and the rest of them, they recommend from 14 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. This happens to be 17 pound fluorocarbon. Now, I'm working mainly places like Lake Okeechobee. I'm working maybe like Headwaters Lake, and there's hydrilla. Now, hydrilla is not the heaviest weed in the world, and the bass kind of suspend over it. And for the most part, a 17-pound line, if you're up on them really good, you're not going to lose a big fish in the 17-pound line if you handle them correctly. Now, Lake Okeechobee is one now. Brett Hite won on the hydrilla in Lake Seminole a few years ago, and I tell you what he was doing. He was targeting the shady side of these hydrilla banks that drop off into deep water, and he'd throw the chatterbait, when I'll show you the complement in a minute, 17-pound test fluorocarbon, a little over 7-foot medium action rod, and he'd just kind of pump it across the hydrilla flat and let it drop down, kind of like a worm, kind of like a fish in a plastic worm, just drop down the drop-offs into those deep hydrilla holes on the shady side of stuff. Okay, so that's really a compliment. Now, there's a lot of things I want to talk about the line. A lot of people say, well, I can feel it a lot better on braid. Well, one thing I do sometime, if I want to really feel it on braid, is that I'll put braid on the line. I'll put like a 50-pound braid on the reel, and then I'll take a 17-pound test fluorocarbon leader, about 3 or 4 or 5 feet long, and I'll put it on there as well. And that gives me the sensitivity, and it also gives me whatever advantages the fluorocarbon has. But so a liter of fluorocarbon can be used. Now, I'm going to take you out to the shop a minute, and I'm going to show you the wrong way to rig a chatterbait. And that is because heavy braid is not really recommended, because there's a couple issues here like that clip. This is the Jackhammer series, and you notice that little clip? It's not designed for 65-pound braid. That little clip right there is only designed for about 20-pound fluorocarbon, and I'll show you the reason for that. Let's go out to the shop and I'll just show you something. Let me just show you the right and wrong way to fish this chatterbait series. Now, this happens to be the high-end Jackhammer series, and it has that light wire clip. It's only designed for about a 20-pound test line. Now, that's 17. So let's put this lure in the vise right here. I'm just going to tighten it down. I'm going to tighten it down. I got the 17 tied onto it right here. And I'm just going to take some gloves. What I'm going to try to show you is that the recommended line is up to 20-pound test line, and for that, this will hold up. Everything will hold up. This is designed for that pound test line. Now, this is 17-pound line, so I'm going to take it with these gloves, and the jackhammer's in the vise, and I'm going to pull hard. Watch what happens. I'm pull hard. Oh, the line broke. Okay, good. That's good. I pulled pretty hard. Okay. Now, That was a 17-pound braid. I'm a 17-pound fluorocarbon. Now let's try another deal. Let's try some of these guys like to use a 50-pound braid and 65-pound braid and all kind of heavy braid. Well, these lures aren't designed for that. I want to just show you what happens. Okay, let's cut the line off. And remember, I got 65-pound braid here. I'm going to put it back in the vise. I'm going to put it back in the vise. Put it back in the vise. Okay, we'll put my gloves on and see what happens with it, with that clip. The clip is a great thing, and it's set up for that light line. But see, what's going to happen, I'm thinking, is that clip's going to break. There's a good chance that it will. Okay, what happened? Look at this. Look what happened. Look what happened. Look, the clip broke. The clip broke right out. It broke the clip. That's what happens. The clip broke. And that's when it straightened out, or I guess it just straightened out. Whatever, that heavy braid will do that. So now I got a jackhammer that has no clip, but I can put another clip on it. But the point is, they're not designed, these jackhammers are not designed for real heavy braid. You see the clip just gone. Now let me just show you some other jackhammers that could possibly be a different situation. Let's go inside again. Okay, what I just showed you a minute ago with that heavy braid was this is the Jackhammer series. This is the 3/8 ounce, and it's about $15 or $16 lure. It's a really quality lure. Brett Hite has designed it. It's got a really good hook, but again, it has that clip, that snap clip that's not the strongest in the world. And another thing about braid that Brett Hite doesn't like about braid is that braids it tears a hole too much in the fish's mouth. If you fight a fish with braid, with heavy braid, it kind of rips a big hole. With light monofilament or with light fluorocarbon, I don't know, it just doesn't rip a hole in the fish's mouth. And Brett and the rest of them catch more fish per strike. Not that you don't get the strikes on braid, it's just that you lose fish on braid. Okay, that's what my point is. You lose fish on braid, and possibly you might break the bait as well. Now let's take another series chatterbait. Okay, this is the Z-Man series. Now Z-Man is kind of responsible for chatterbaits. They're the ones that came up with it. But let's look at this one for a second. Now this one's only about half the price. And people say, well, why won't it work as well? Well, I like the Jackhammer. I'll spend the extra money on the Jackhammer. But, you know, in reality, these other ones do a good job. And I'm going to just show you what this complement is. Now here, it's the same blade that we saw on the Jackhammer series. Half the price, but look at the clip. Look at the line clip. That's a real strong wire. It would hold a 100-pound test. Look at that. It can't possibly break. It's just real strong line tie. So that's one advantage, okay? So you get this cheaper, less expensive bait. Does it vibrate as well? Does it fish as well? Does it catch as many fish? Well, I use the Jackhammer because it's recommended. And most everybody else that says that their Jackhammer is the top of the line. But look at these ones that are only half the price. They're actually built strong as well, stronger, and they could do a good job. They have basically about the same hook as the Jackhammer series. There was not much difference in the hook. So, you know, you could save a little bit of money by using the other series. Now this is the standard chatterbait, and this is a standard 3/8 ounce. And they both weigh the same amount. Okay. And now there's some other series that we have here. For example, Bass Pro Shop has chatterbaits. Now here's the regular chatterbait as well. And here's one that's another series. This is the Easy Skirt. I don't know there's 3 or 4 different series, and Bass Pro Shop makes a series, if I can find it. I don't know if I got it in here or not. Here. Okay, there's the chatterbait by Bass Pro Shop. Now, Chatterbait made these for Bass Pro Shop, so I get a discount. So if I want to buy a chatterbait, I'll just get the Bass Pro Shop one because it's actually a chatterbait. The chatterbait made for Bass Pro Shop, and they sell it under the brand of Bass Pro Shop, but they call it a chatterbait, and it is a Chatterbait by Z-Man. And that's another, and that has a line tie, the heavy-duty line tie. So it's not a bad deal. I can get this for almost a third of the price of the Jackhammer series. But again, I use the Jackhammer series. It's something mythical about why that is so expensive and why it's so much better. But everybody's recommending this Jackhammer is the #1 deal. Okay, we've covered all the different kinds of chatterbaits that I recommend now. Let's talk about trailers. Now, Brett Hite, again, had one trailer that he came up with. It's called the Zako, and this is the deal. He works for Yamamoto, and a Zako has a boot tail. Look at that. Look at that trailer right there. That's really cool. Now, let's put it on this chatterbait, and I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to put it on here. I'm going to come through the front of it about an inch. And if you notice on the Jackhammer series, there's little deals on the hook that the other series don't have. That holds the bait on better. Okay, and coming up and driving in there, it holds the bait right on there. Okay, that's perfectly lined up. Now that Jackhammer has got the Zako trailer, and that's the one that Brett and so many of the guys, Davey Hite, and so many of the guys, golly, I can go on and on, Skeet Reese, all the guys that fish this chatterbait a lot, they really recommend this particular model right there. That's it, the Jackhammer series with the Zako. But what I like is I like to switch around. I like to take another lure like this big. There's 2 or 3 different kind of lures like this. This is the Cowboy series. And this, look, I'm going to show you something. I'll modify this. The Cowboy series is a great big flipping kind of bait. Sometimes I'll take the little appendages off because I just want the tail part. I just want this part back here. And those trailers here. Now, it makes it a lot bigger bait. Now, let's just take this series here, the less expensive series, and let's put that Cowboy on there. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to put it on there about an inch. It doesn't have the little clips on there that hold the bait on like the Jackhammer series had. It has little deals here that kind of hold it on. That works too. Okay. Now here is a chatterbait with the Cowboy. And that's a double-legged Cowboy series lure that's just really good for, I like it for big bass. I mean, it's kind of a bigger profile. And so in comparison, you're talking about 2 different kind of lures. This lure kind of swims along with the Zako, and this kind of flutters like a frog, some kind of a deal down deep in the bottom. And again, I've gone to Mexico and other places and taken the larger, heavier chatterbaits and really done good with that big skirt like that. Okay, let's go another one. Let's show you another deal. There's flukes. You can take a fluke. In this case, D-shad from Yamamoto or a regular fluke, 5-inch fluke, white or whatever color that matches the hatch that you want to use. And that's a great trailer. So there's any combination of trailers. So that's just a few of the issues that we're dealing with the chatterbait. But let me just tell you, this is the time of year to catch some really big fish. I like the cool weather. And I've fished the chatterbaits from Connecticut to California. I've done down in Mexico. I've caught a lot of them up in Canada. I mean, this is a universal bait. I think the chatterbait is kind of taken over spinnerbait fishing. I mean, the spinnerbait, I was a great big proponent on spinnerbait fishing. I did all my power fishing for years, and I had my own spinnerbait series, the Roland Martin Big Bass spinnerbait, and all that still works. But I'm telling you, the chatterbait's taken over a lot of that market. The chatterbait is more or less like a spinnerbait. But it's pretty versatile because we use it as a deep water structure lure. We jig it. There's a lot of things we do with the chatterbait that you don't do with a spinnerbait. So anyway, it's just a good universal lure, very, very productive from Connecticut to California. So learn to get the right series, learn and have the right line and rod combination like I've shown you. And boy, I think you can catch some beautiful bass as well. Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube. We'll see you again soon.